Eyes up, Guardian. With the introduction of the new class items, we've gotten new ways to combat the enemies of Soul. Today, we are covering quite the class item combo, Spirit of the Foetracer and Spirit of the Gyrfalcon. It's an amazing combination for general use as well as mid-tier content. Foetracer will allow us to get a ×4 damage boost with any ability damage that we create with our abilities, and we decide our damage based on what the build consists of using our Prismatic class, meaning whatever light or darkness damage that we get through abilities, we'll be able to have our surge boost match that specific subclass element. This pairs well with the Spirit of Gyrfalcon, which states that becoming invisible provides us with volatile rounds to our void weapons. And, as many of you know, the volatile damage debuff is a debuff that causes our enemies to endure an exploding burst. This burst spreads volatile to other enemies in close proximity. This can chain explosions and can lead to devastating effects. Volatile rounds also have shield-piercing effects attached onto them as well. And our prime suspect to push this class item build over the edge is a good old fan favorite, the Graviton Lance. This is a powerful damaging pulse rifle. Coming from the Double Burst family, it has a set of nasty surprises. Its Black Hole perk states that its second hit is a devastating high damage shot with no recoil or fall off. And its second coming is its perk Cosmology that states that with kills with this weapon, it causes targets to detonate and spawn void projectiles that track targets. These void projectiles are also considered an extension of the weapon, also benefiting from said damage buff. This means that with the damage of Foetracer, the volatile rounds of Gyrfalcons, we can make Graviton Lance an even more intense threat. Each void projectile hit is strong enough to create a volatile explosion. These volatile explosions spread and contribute to final blows. These final blows create more projectiles and the cycle repeats itself, turning the weapon into a living, breathing cataclysm. But we will not stop there. We'll be combining our void abilities with that of strand damage. We are able to erode target offenses with Sever and generate consistent seeking threads with unraveling rounds. And the ability damage that starts these things in the first place will also add surges to our weapon, adding more alternative damage throughout the game. We will be pairing this with the Call Rocket Strand sidearm, as it is an effective special weapon, so that when we so happen to get a strand buff from Spirit of the Foetracer, we will be able to make proper use of it. Heavy is optional as long as it's strand or void, but I do believe that void is the ideal decision because of the abilities that we're pairing with this build. But let's get into the heart of the build, shall we? For our aspects, we shall use Stylish Executioner, as each debuff kill that we get will turn us invisible. It is a no-brainer for this build as we front-load all of the offensive debuffs that are available to us. Both our strand and void subclass damaging options will help us with this. It also gives us true sight so we know what enemies spawn next. Next up is Gunpowder Gamble, in which abilities, kills involving debuff damage, and soul weapon kills will provide stacks of Gunpowder Gamble. This will create a truly improvised gunpowder explosive that we sling at our enemies. It's free damage, simple as that, and when we debuff the area, we can throw it to secure a kill and trigger Stylish Executioner once more. Next up is the abilities of our Guardian. Grapple will allow us to swing from place to place with our ability, as well as grapple melee, unraveling the targets that are around us. This will also trigger our strand weapon surge from Foetracer. Lastly, we'll synergize with the fragments that we have, so keep this in the back burner. Next up is an unlikely choice, Snare Bomb. This will allow us to spread weaken towards targets as well as trigger our void side of our Foetracer surge boost. This will allow for high burst damage against sturdier targets. Gambler's Dodge will allow us to refresh our melee ability and will spread weaken further. Jumps again are optional, so feel free to use what you like. Finally is our fragments. Facet of Balance will allow us to get melee energies with rapid light final blows, as well as grenade energies for rapid dark final blows. The funny thing is that Grapple counts as both grenade and a melee ability, meaning that Grapple double dips into this effect. This will also boost our Snare Bomb if we need it, so there's that as well. Facet of Hope will give us increased class ability regen based on the buffs that we have. And next up is Facet of Bravery, which states that grenade final blows will give us volatile rounds, and melee final blows gives us unraveling round. Again, our grapple counts as both, so we're able to double dip into both of these effects at once, meaning that we can easily weave into the rounds of damage that we prefer at the moment. Next is Facet of Dawn, where powered melee hits allow us to become radiant. This strengthens our weapons even further. And speaking of weapon strength, let's put this into perspective. You engage the enemy with your snare bomb. That's a 15% weaken damage bonus already. This snare bomb then triggers Foetracer, which is then a 25% surge bonus. And then after that is another 25% damage bonus from Radiant. That means at base, our void weapons will get a benefit of 65 damage bonus, all for landing a snare bomb. This is also excluding Graviton Lance's Vorpal weapon, which is a 20% damage boost for bosses and mini-bosses alike, as well as a 5% damage buff if we use Transcendence, which is also very possible when we use this build. Lastly, for our fragments, it's Facet of Purpose, of course. This will allow us to get a defensive debuff on orb pickup, and in this case, we will be using Shadow Shot. Reason being, it is a one-off super, and secondly, it synergizes with Spirit of the Foetracer to get at the max damage bonus that we need to get stuff done. Another thing is that this form of weaken is plus 30 as opposed to plus 15, which I believe is an amazing trade-off for having half an overshield per orb pickup. But next up is armor and stats, and as usual, max resilience for the armor piece as well as max discipline if you can muster it. As for our helmets, siphon mods to produce our orbs, Void and Strand mods for this case. And if you can add it without taking back your main stat distribution, Ashes to Assets is the next thing. Following up is arms. Firepower and momentum transfer is what I would go for, producing orbs on grenade kills as well as reducing the cooldown on snare bomb to get more Foetracer surge boosts. Next up is chest and concussive dampener and sniper damage resistance to manage the damage that we take. Simple as that. And next is legs. Recuperation and Better Already is used to heal off the orbs that we're already making. This is a very dynamic duo, especially when you're invisible and low on health. Just walk over the orbs and we start healing again. Stacks on stacks is of course optional, as we use it for special when we're in need of it. And finally, for our cloak, we use Reaper to produce orbs on weapon kills in exchange for simply dodging, and Special Finisher to produce special, with the finisher taking 3 armor charges. And Bomber allows us to get lower grenade cooldowns when we use our dodge. But that covers the brunt of this build, and here's what's my final thoughts on this class item combo. I got this exact roll on 3 separate occasions, and I have to say that I don't regret it at all. It is one of the builds that have kind of encouraged me to start build crafting with it, because on first glance it may not look like much, and the build combo does seem very restrictive. However, it does look really good once you put in some time, thought, and practice into this class item combo, and I think that this is a really good piece of alternative arsenal for those who like something a little different from the stick and punch build as usual. But thank you for your time, and Alchemist is out.